Hello all, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda and I'm here today with sort of a hybrid book and movie discussion. I wouldn't say review because it's not really, well, okay, review. And I'm talking about this one right here, My Best Friend's Exorcism. So a while ago, I decided I'm going to read Grady Hendrix, but where should I start? So I went out on Threads because I don't do the site formerly known as Twitter anymore. And I said, if I'm going to read Grady Hendrix, where do I start? And the responses were unanimous. Start with this one. So I did. Now, I'm not going to go too far into this because this is a very popular book, and I'm sure you've read it. If you haven't, and you can't tell what the book's about by the title, I can't help you. I'm sorry. But I'm going to tell you a little bit my thoughts on this, is that I really enjoyed this book. This was a lot of fun. It was also surprisingly, I guess profound is the best word. So it is very much a cheesy kind of, I shouldn't say cheesy because I'm going to talk about cheesy later, but it's campy. Lots of 80s throwbacks, and it totally plays into the idea of 80s teen horror, but also has a really good discussion of friendship. That is one of the best that I have read, the best teen friendship that I've read in a long time. Now, to be fair, I don't read a lot of YA, so whatever. I thought it was incredibly good. I was really impressed, actually, by the way Grady Hendrix used the horror genre and the conventions of 80s teen horror to talk about the importance of friendship and the bonds of friendship. So, great book. Highly recommend it. I'm giving credit for the recommendation to two people for me. One is Randy Ray, the literate Texan, because he was the first person to reply to me to tell me to read this book. And two, my friend Karen, who we know from Short Story September, is a little bit twisted inside. She also recommended it. So those two people get credit for it. After I finished this book, I decided I'm going to watch the adaptation. There is a movie adaptation of this. It's on Prime. It's called My Best Friend's Exorcism, and it is 90 minutes long, and it came out in 2022. I watched this with my daughter. This was her first real horror film experience. She was not at all scared. She actually thought it was pretty funny. So, whatever. She also, when she was 6 years old, was writing stories about vampires and stuff. So, she's hardcore. So we watched it. Let me tell you what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and what I think should have happened. What I liked about it. First of all, great music. Any movie that starts with Take On Me, great. There you go. You gotta get that. Two, plot-wise, it was very faithful to the book. I mean, it follows the same arc. It doesn't do any weird changes or anything like that. It is we're going to take this story and try to put it in visual form sort of thing. And three, they cast actual teenagers to play the teenagers. You know how sick I am of seeing teenagers played by young-looking 30-year-olds? So, yes. And I mean, and the acting, as far as it could go, was good in it. So on those points, it was fun. And I to be fair, wasn't expecting Academy Award level from here. It's a made-for-TV, made-for-Prime movie of a campy novel. Now, what I didn't like about it, one, very clearly had a very low CGI budget. The CGI in this movie is terrible. Two, and these are the two important points that I want to discuss. And I think that this first part is a function of it being 90 minutes long, and that's why I brought it up earlier that it was a 90-minute movie, is that while it was faithful to the plot, there's more than plot in this book. They go back and they explain how the two characters, Abby and Gretchen, became friends, and there are callbacks at the end of the book to things that happened at the beginning of the book. That sort of context and backstory was not part of the movie. Which I'm sure was a time issue. You had 90 minutes to tell basically a 90-minute story, so you're not going to get the backstory to it or anything. And honestly, if they hadn't in the movie called back to the same things the books called back, but it wasn't in the book, probably would have been not such a big deal. But in the movie, when you're watching the movie, and you don't have knowledge of the book, like my daughter did not have knowledge of the book, and I did, and there are these callbacks, and she's like, what are they even talking about? I knew because I'd read the book, but it doesn't make any sense. So my daughter's frustration with it was there were just things in it that didn't make sense. I think comes from the fact that when they made this movie, they stuck just to the plot and didn't get the backstory. Second issue. This is a campy book. The movie is a cheesy movie. I think what they tried to do was play up the camp. And if you have source material that's already campy, this is campy. I think campy is like the good version of cheesy. Like there's cheesy is the negative and campy is the positive. This is already campy. So if you make this even more campy, you're gonna make it cheesy. And that's what happened with this adaptation. I think if they had actually tried to play it straight when making the movie, the campiness is already in the story. They didn't have to add anything to it. They might have ended up with a really successful throwback camp movie, but that just didn't happen here. It was cringeworthy at points. You know, things that when I read the book, I was thinking of things, well, these characters in the book are my age. Like I would have been in the same year as them. So I could relate to them. And I really felt reading it that I was back at that time in my life. I've seen places where this book is listed as YA. I mean, subject-wise, it could be YA. There's nothing in it that makes it non-YA. But this book is written for middle-aged people. This book is written for Gen Xers because it's our experience. And so where the book takes us back to that time, the movie takes us to what Gen Zers, or whatever they're called now, think our time was like, and it didn't quite fit. Obviously, if you haven't figured this out now, I do not recommend the adaptation unless you're curious. I would say if you want to watch it, read the book first, because otherwise you'd be like, what are they even talking about? Read the book first, enjoy the book, and then go into the adaptation knowing this is just not a good adaptation. Which is too bad, because I think a good adaptation of this book would be fantastic. But you're not going to get that on Prime. So yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that because I've been thinking about it. I was frustrated with the adaptation because I could see the problems. I could see what caused the problems. You know, the fact that they had to cut the context out and they tried to play up the campiness, which didn't work. And there were good things about the adaptation that were just outweighed by the bad. But I think it could have been a really good adaptation. I would love to see someone who's serious about movies, maybe someone like Greta Gerwig or someone like that, tackle something like this, who could take it seriously, let the campiness that's inherent in the story shine, and then be able to play up the deeper meanings of this book. And you're not going to get that on Prime, but you will get that in this book. So I am recommending, if you have not yet read My Best Friend's Exorcism, highly recommend it. I personally didn't find it scary. I don't normally find horror scary, but it was exciting. My adrenaline, I could feel my adrenaline up reading it. But it was actually just a really great story about friendship. Skip the movie. Just skip the movie. There's other horror movies to watch. But yeah, I thought I would report on that because we are in spooky season. So if you don't have your spooky season reading going, there's a suggestion. And if you don't have your spooky season watching ready, look elsewhere. That's all I can say. Thank you very much for staying with me for this quick video. If you've made it all the way through, leave me some kind of Halloween-y emoji, and be sure to like this video and subscribe, and feel free to join my Discord. The information is below so we can talk more. It's easier to have conversations on Discord than it is in the comments on a YouTube channel. And thank you very much again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.